sounds like the voice of your conscience. I don't know how many of you, maybe ever you've driven too fast on a certain road. No. And then you get that, you know, isn't it? You get that, slow down, you know. And you think, there's never been a camera on this road. They don't go here. They don't know about this road. And you're going, I've never seen a cop on this road. And the next minute, there we go. And then a month later, I don't know, yeah, do you get photos in the post? We get photos in the post. And there you are in the car with a photo, and the speed is right there on it, you know, and you think to yourself, gosh, I could have taken much better photos and much cheaper ones, right? Because you also get points here, points deducted, and yeah, all this good stuff. And so you think to yourself, now why did I not slow down? Well, because I didn't actually heed the voice of my conscience. It sounds, the inner voice of the Lord sounds a lot like the inner voice of the conscience. Or maybe the neighbor's cat came to visit, and you looked at the neighbor's cat and you decided, look, I just don't feel like you today. You know, so you gave him the left foot of fellowship, and there went the neighbor's cat over the lawn, and then afterwards you feel so convicted in your heart, huh? Your conscience, like, don't be like that. It's just the cat just wants fellowship. The cat just wanted love. The cat just wanted to come and join the family. Don't be, you know, it's that very small little nudge of why. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, sometimes we shut down the voice of the conscience to the point where the volume of the voice of the conscience has been turned down so much in our lives that we don't pick it up any longer. And then maybe I've got a decision to make about my job, for instance, and I'm finding difficulty hearing the Lord. And it's all because I'm in a mode of shutting down the voice of my conscience. And so I say, if we ask ourselves, when last did you hear the voice of your conscience? When last did you hear it? When was the last time when you know, I should have obeyed and I didn't? And can you recognize, would you instantly recognize the voice of your conscience? That's important, really important. And I believe that we're going to get really sharp, really sensitive, really be not in an ignoring mode. Sometimes I notice that I go into ignoring modes with God. It's not that I'm doing something consciously wrong, hopefully, but it's more that I'm choosing to kind of do my own thing a little bit. You know, the Lord says, do this, do that, you feel, yeah? And you just go, no, not today. Can we talk about it? You know, the whole, do you also do that? Can we talk about that, God, tomorrow? You know what I mean? Can I, you know, all this lovely excuses. Now's not the time. We're trying to explain to God why this is not right. Do you go through that? Yeah. Yeah. And what I've noticed is the voice of my conscience. If to distinguish between the voice of your own voice and the voice of God. And what I've noticed in my life is I usually agree with me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because that's always a big question. People say, well, how do I really recognize the voice of God in me? Because how do I know it's not me? Well, I notice I usually agree with me, and I usually try and discuss with God. Especially if I've been in a prolonged ignoring mode. I'm so used to being in an ignoring mode that I don't like this now. I was on a train the other day, and there was no more room, you know, to sit. I had a seat, and there was an older lady standing, and I knew the voice of my conscience was saying, "Get up," you know, and let her sit. And there was many people there, and I'm sure the moment she walked in, everybody was like, you know, no, we should get up, let her sit, you know, get up and sit. And I'm thinking, oh God, we're in Europe. In Europe, we're very much for equal rights. You know? And why didn't she book her seat? Because she can book a seat. And why did she do this? So I'm trying to say to the Lord, and it's 3 more hours, and I don't feel like standing because I've had a hard weekend, and I'm busy. You know? And eventually you're just like, oh, come and sit here, you know? Things like that. And is this, that the voice of the Lord, you know, is with us 24 hours. And I think it's so important. Now, if I need to make a very important spiritual decision, or whatever decision, if I'm not obeying in those gentle little nudges, I'm going to miss God in the bigger things.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I noticed in my life. So, and I usually agree with me. I usually want to discuss it with God. That's usually a good confirmation to me. I start thinking, am I wanting to discuss this? It's God. It's probably God. It's probably God. There's too much discussion. There's too much a need for discussion. And have you ever tried to explain to the Lord why the certain things are certain ways? And have you noticed that God is not really impressed? I've noticed that the Lord doesn't take notes. And I'm trying to explain to the Lord, you know, we don't do this. And I remember going to this very traditional thinking church, and I'm invited quite a lot to the very, very, very traditional. And I really love it, because especially if they're open to the Lord, because, you know, we're seeing a move of God, and I sometimes have the wonderful opportunity of being in total Lutheran settings. I mean, in Germany, in the cathedral. And we do dream seminars, understanding your dreams, worship seminars. And I remember being in such a place, and the Lord said to me, I want you to play on the piano and invite them to dance with the bridegroom. And that was the very first meeting in a very traditional thinking church. And then I'm saying to the Lord, and inside my heart, I'm like, God, you don't know these people like I do. You know, can we go, and I'll explain to you after the meeting tonight why it's not good, especially in the first of 3 meetings, to do that. It's better to wait for the second, break the ice, make some jokes, show them that there are some normalities parts in you. Show them that this is okay. And the Lord said, I want you to introduce I want to dance with them. I want to be a bridegroom that dances with this church. You see, and then isn't it? And have you noticed? God's not impressed by my answers. Maybe tomorrow night, you know, I'll explain to you why. All this first teaching, God, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff. So that's what I've noticed in my life. It's the best is just to say, okay, fine. Well, I don't understand this, but I know. And I think in the course of life, and our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday life, we learn to recognize the voice of the Lord. Yep. And that's the big thing. Then, of course, the second way that the Lord speaks then and gives us revelation is through the visionary. And in the visionary, we have 3 categories. We have dreams, visions, and trances. I'm not going to say a lot about visions and trances, but I wanted to share a few things this afternoon with you about dreams. Now, firstly, the visional and the visional, we can also divide it into 2 groups. The open vision, when the Lord opens my eyes, my natural eyes, and I see in the realm of the Spirit, and I see what's happening over your state. Or I see open vision. That happens, but maybe not as regularly. What happens a lot is the inner vision, where the Lord shows it on the screen of my imagination. The visional, we say we divide it into 3 groups: visions, open, closed, dreams, and trances. And I'll just speak a little bit about trances, and then we'll concentrate on dreams this afternoon. Trances, of course, you and I can't make it happen. They were a valid way of God speaking in the New Testament. Peter fell into a trance. And of course, because the New Age, fortune tellers, all these people, they do their best to put themselves into trances. And we could just say that a trance is a visional state in which a person receives revelation from God. And they are so taken into the realm of the Spirit that the natural realm, you lose your consciousness of the natural realm when a person is in the trance state. We might see more of it again in the end times as the Spirit of God comes strong.